a death metal band, therefore, the first thing that jumps into people's minds is, like, aggressive. But I think we're all, like, we love, like, all that, like, knuckle-dragging, brutal shit. But, like, I also think we really like the more thoughtful side of death metal. Especially some of that, like, coming into the mid-90s, like, bands like Mid-Era Death, Cynic, Disincarnate, stuff like that. But we also, like, we came from, like, punk, and we came from, like, hardcore and all that stuff. So we like to scrape our knuckles a little bit, too. So we're always, like, trying to blend, like, the complexities with, like, the ignorance that we also crave. So we just, like, think we just want to play what we want to hear. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I heard a lot of, like, really popular metal and then get into punk, but, like, a lot of the death metal stuff I heard that I appreciated the most was, like, heavy hitters like Death and Autopsy and stuff like that. So as far as, like, a sound goes, like, I think a lot, as far as a brutal sound goes, as far as, like, the overall production of Tomb Mold, is that you know who you don't want to sound like. So you
yeah, for sure.
So if you want a bigger sound with a lot of mid-range, so, like, I think that pays tribute to a lot of the older death metal bands, but, like, a lot of early 2000s metal production is, like, paper thin. It sounds like a Foo Fighters record or something. So
for sure.
Yeah, so we want, like, a burly, cavernous sound.
Yeah.
Like, that's less about influences, more about, like, the tone we employ, but like, it's like a sandwich, you know, with the bass, and then I'm sort of the mid, and then Derrick is, like, the higher lead parts.
The name of Tomb Mold comes from the game Bloodborne. The first tape for sure had some Dark Souls and some Bloodborne references, and a little bit throughout, but not anymore, really. But those games are extremely atmospheric, super isolating, pretty obscure, like in just how the story unfolds, which is like kind of all the things I always liked from death metal. Bloodborne in particular has a lot of like Lovecraftian vibes to it, which lent itself well to the genre death metal. And just the imagery of it, like, it was something that, like, definitely, like, I was drawn to, and when Max and I started the band, we definitely leaned on that a little bit. But then after a certain point, like, it was just a placeholder name for the band, and, like, we kind of just didn't write about the record, or we didn't write about that on the records after Primordial. Like, yeah, there's a song on Manor of Infinite Forms called Abyss Walker, so a lot of people think that's about Dark Souls. The name Abyss Walker is because I had a pet rat named after a character from Dark Souls, and when he died, I wrote the lyrics to that song. Okay. So it's more about him than the game. We just don't talk about it that much. But yeah, that's why. But you've played the games a little bit too.
Yeah, I played the games. They're cool. They're dark and ambiguous, and yeah. Me and Derrick both love video games a lot. The two guys.
They definitely color like a lot of the things in this band for sure.
But I've seen a little bit of a lot of people who like play those games are like, oh fuck yeah, Tomb Mold, like it's great, it's cool. And then I've seen people be like, that's kind of whatever, it's kind of stupid. But it's like, I mean, how many black metal bands still fucking write about Lord of the Rings? It's like, it's not really any different.
How many black metal bands have like a muscular like goat with a 10-inch dick on their record cover?
Yeah, true.
Like,
I mean,
so like if you're gonna come at us with that, then like make sure you're ripping on everything that's bad.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Or embrace all of it. Like,
yeah,
do one
exactly.
or the other.
It's everything. Everything's cool. Well, not everything.
Not everything's cool, but. I feel like this record is about the end of all things, but in like a very cosmic, potential like rebirth kind of way. So like side A, the lyrical content was by me, and the side B of the record is by Max, and we both approach these things differently. I would say Max writes it a little bit more in abstracts, and it works for him. But we're both trying to convey the same thing. But mine is like a lot of like things dying or things obliterating, but like what comes out of that. And it's sort of like, I think it's a reflection of just change in your life. Like, sometimes things fall apart, but like what comes out of it is something better. It's sort of like, the way I've always kind of thought about living and is like how much shit are you willing to go through to get to greener pastures, or like
Sounds like a Saw movie.
Yeah, like make your choice, live or die. And I mean, the first song, "Beg for Life," is about that. I find Planetary as a record to be very freeing. It like definitely has some, like, for me at least, some spiritual elements. I just don't expect everybody to feel that way. That's a personal thing. So, yeah. But that's okay. Like, someone else can listen to the record and take something from it, and I think that's great. Like, I think music is wonderful because it can be open to interpretation, and it's imaginative. Like,
and as far as like science fiction is concerned, it's fun. We all like science fiction, so it's kind of like, you know, even if you're not as into like maybe the higher ideas of the band, it's just cool. Sometimes this stuff's just cool, right? So it's like
the blending of like sci-fi and horror as well is like something like we just crave.
All four of us are like really into that stuff.
Yeah,
so thematically, it's like I personally wouldn't even need to know a ton about the lyrical content before I was totally satiated, where it's like, yeah, this is great, cool, sci-fi. I mean, not that I don't appreciate the higher aspects of it.
When I hear it, it just makes me think about how proud I am of my bandmates. Like, I hear it and it sounds so fucking good. And everyone worked really hard on it. And it makes me think about, like, everybody involved with it, from art to mixing to recording to the label putting it out. Like, I'm just like, I'm so grateful for everyone involved. Like, maybe I write songs and all that shit, but like, these are like harebrained ideas, half-assed ideas, videos of me playing these like weird riffs in a kitchen somewhere in Toronto. Like, this is nothing without everybody else involved. So it just really makes me appreciate it. This record really felt like I got a weight off my chest. And I couldn't have gotten that weight off my chest without my bandmates. I'm eternally grateful to them. And I'm just like, yeah, it just brings a smile to my face.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it's heavy and it's cool. I hope people like it. And I think it's like, it's definitely a product of like a lot of people's hard work, but I feel like we've grown so much since the last record, so that's cool.
Yeah.
And there's some fucking killer parts on it.
Well, when we started the band, it was very like, the intention was like, we're gonna make like Finnish style death metal, and it was very intentional. It was very like, we're gonna be a little chudly, more knuckle dragging bands like Convulse, Pertinence, like first Adramelic 7-inch. Like, it's gonna be like kind of dirty, dirgy, not technical really. And then we did that for the first tape and the first LP. First LP was a little bit more like, we stretched out a little bit more. But then when we started working on the second tape, The Molting, that was when Max and I were like, we just want to play whatever. Like, we just want to play death metal. Like, we don't want to play Finnish death metal. Like, we just want to play death metal. By the time I started writing for Planetary, I was like, this is the death metal I've wanted to write. And it's just finally coming to me. I'm finally like comfortable. Like, I can do this.
As far as like the band changing, I feel like we've all just gotten way better at obviously playing. Derrick's songs are evolving, like the pieces he writes. Max's drum parts are evolving, because Max's drum parts are just like out of this world too. But like, our tones changed a bit. It's just getting more comfortable, and it's like finding your footing, kind of, I guess, to the point where I'm like, very comfortable, and I'm very convinced that this is like the best we've sounded. But the band's growing in a way that I would consider very positive as far as the way we sound overall. Yeah. There's parts Derrick showed me on the new record when I learned it, where I was like, it would be like something technical, never repeated either. It's like you didn't have a chance to get sick of it because it was over.
Yeah.
So some of the best parts, my favorite parts of the record, are over before you have a chance to even know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you'll just get hit with this like dummy riff where you're just like, oh my god, this is sick. And then it's ditto for Max. Max would have some incredible drum fill to put over these parts, and it was just like, you got really stoked on the product, and I wanted to be better. I spent a lot more time, like on Manor, my solos were just sort of off the cuff, and they're fine, but this record I wrote them. We wrote our solos. We slaved over our solos.
Yeah.
We are well aware that this band has moved at a frenetic pace too, because it's changed our lives a lot with like 3 records in 3 years, and even just joining. Like when I joined, I was like, yeah, I'll probably play the guitar for the shows in Toronto, and it'll be cool. And then a year later, we were on tour.
Yeah.
So it was never super planned. It's just like kind of going with it, you know.
Yeah.
I always say this when people ask about it. It's like we kind of like I just try to treat this like we're on borrowed time.
Yeah.
Like we don't know how long this thing's gonna last. Like
Yeah,
we're
man,
all
I'm 34.
yeah, like we're all like deep into real life. Like some of us have jobs, some of us are married, some of us are gonna get married, and like, and it's just like, well, then why don't we just do as much as we can before the wheels fall off and just enjoy the ride?